Hey, everybody. It has been so long. Hi, May. Hi, Dro. Lovely. Hi. Periscope is ending. Hi, Joseph. Hi, Justin. Hi, Barb. It's so sad. Lincoln. It's been so long. I know. So much has happened in my life. Hi, Paul. Hi, Moore. I thought on the very last day of Periscope, I wouldn't walk around. I would just talk to everybody. Hi, Barry. Hi, Runner. So glad to see you all. Hey, Blued. Everything is different in my life since the last time I talked to everybody. Hi, if I missed you. Hey, ST. How are you, Barb? Yay! I should have been doing this more, but everything's been really different. And I also just spent the last week and a half trying to save all my old periscopes. So, hey, what happened? Am I still live? Yes. Okay. Hi, Kiki. Here's my cat. My kitty kitty. So I moved. Hi, Vivi. Hi, Sam, waiting here. I moved out of New York City. I quit that really stressful job. Thanks. I have no makeup. I just got ready for the evening and thought, oh my gosh, today is the last day. Hey, Pete. I know, right? Look, I don't even smile right anymore. Hi, K-Coob. Thank you so much. I just spent the last 2 weeks trying to save every single one of my periscopes. And part of the reason why I stopped making them was that they were deleting the old ones. And it turned out that they're all gone, the earliest ones. And I was really sad to find that out. But I saved, hey, Sardar. I saved as many as I could onto a YouTube channel, 2 YouTube channels, actually. Yes, I moved out of New York City, way far out of New York City, and upstate New York. And my life is just not the race around it used to be. It was really affecting my health, and I couldn't take all the disrespect. So I said, ciao. And I moved way upstate with my cat, whose name is Inkling. And this is the last day we can make periscopes. They're shutting it down. So I have, I moved all the ones I could onto 2 YouTube channels. Let's see if I can get the name. I made 2 because they were not letting me upload more than 20 a day, and I was really worried. And in order to get the videos, I had to do what's called ripping, because Periscope had no way for you to really save these. Hey, Adsadi. So I had to pull them down into a program that, would pop up like a virus-laden pop-up every single click. So you had to be really focused and not accidentally click it. And I even bought like a Chromebook to do it so I wouldn't wreck my real computer with all my work on it. And saved them. So the one, my main one, which also has videos from my trip to Egypt, is under my pen name, which is Catherine Maggie Walter at gmail.com. And then the other one is under, sorry, I'm not looking at anybody's words right now, except I just wanted to get these 2 accounts in case anybody wanted to see my old periscopes ever someday. Although they supposedly are saving them, I don't know. The other one is called catsperiscope at gmail.com. So those are my 2 YouTube channels. And that's that. Periscope Brad. Hi, I'm actually not walking around. I hardly any smile anymore. My top lip disappears when I smile. How are you, Brad? Hey, Indio. How's everybody been? It's been like a year or something. Uh, I moved. I semi-retired. I started a business selling vintage jewelry online. I have my own website, janedaisy.com. Link and I moved. I'm like 6 hours north now. I'm way out of the city. I moved out of Manhattan. I left that tiny little 200 square foot apartment that I'd been in for 27 years. Not completely sad. Oh, yes, near Rochester. You're near Rochester. Oh yeah. We should definitely touch base because I'm up here now. I know. I know the walks are actually probably really different now because I was saving these videos because I feel like it's a historical record of New York City before COVID. It's so different now, apparently. My brother was going to work every day throughout the pandemic. And he said when, he'd walk through Times Square, there'd be like nobody, like two people and one car. And that's just been the way it's been for a year. I think it's coming back, New York, but it's not like it was. I don't think it'll ever be like it was. And so I was really sort of desperate to save these periscopes because it's all gone now. So many of the stores we used to look at and walk past just closed. So it's really sad. But New York City is New York City. People will move in that have ambition and drive and open new restaurants and open new stores, and it will recover because it's New York City. And that's just, I mean, I love the place. I had to leave because I had to quit that job. And once I quit that job, I couldn't afford to live there. And I was just done with, I was just done. I'm old. I'm old. I'm not old enough to really be retired, so I'm still struggling to pay my bills. Um, but it's a lot calmer, and I grow flowers. All my daffodils are growing right now. Forsythia bush is budding. I planted a ton of hey pilistero. Sorry, so much less stress. I'm like sort of a different person. I know I've aged like 20 years in the past year, but I'm a lot calmer. The job affected my heart and my health, and I can still cry about the way I was treated because it sucked to be so disrespected all the time. But I've gotten over it. Mostly, not really, obviously, but that was a place. There I was, just making money and trying to live. Hi, Joseph. Joe Scalise. Joe and I met one time in New York City, and what did we go see? We went to see Trump Tower, as a matter of fact, way before there was even an idea. They tried to break me. I got my horrible boss to quit first, though. And then he left like three horrible people in charge who made two other women quit who couldn't take it. And I was just like a bulldog. I was like, you're not going to make me quit. And then my mother passed away. And then I hung on for another 5 or 6 months. And then I got another really severe slap in the face, metaphorically, by one of those three pieces of shit that were left in place to harass me out of the place. And that was it. He won, they won. The work that I was doing did not win because I didn't get to finish it, but I left somebody in my place who is carrying the torch. I feel bad for her, but I'm glad she's continuing the work because it needs doing. And so I moved here and I recovered my health I've been here now since October before the pandemic. And then the pandemic happened, and I sort of locked myself in my house since last March. So it's been basically a year that I've been in isolation. No regrets. No regrets to leave. I miss my family that's down there. But by the time I left, I didn't have any friends left there. They all moved out smarter than me years and years earlier. And that was that fun trip. One of the fun trips I took. I showed you a couple of videos because I just resaw them when I was, or resaw the names. I didn't have time to watch any of them. But when I flew down to Miami and I rented a car and drove up and popped around and visited friends all the way north. Drove like, I think, 7,000 miles. It was great, freeing, very freeing. But yeah, I mean, my family was there and I miss them, but I don't miss anything else except the city in general, the food. It is cheaper up here, but I'm also not working consistently, so I have still financial concerns. Oh, really? Oh, yes, yes, I remember. I used to come up here. Um, oh yeah, Joe, that was a great trip. You were one of the few people that I did actually meet who came to New York to meet me in person. And Till from France was another, and um, oh, she's my friend on Facebook too. She and I met down in Soho. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but some people from France and you, Joe, and some other people, I think. But it was so funny, Joe. You were the first person I met, and I was scoping, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you gonna be safe? Are you gonna be safe?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be safe. I'm in New York City. I'm a big girl." And of course, you were super nice, and it was really a nice time to get to see you. Um, but now, apparently, the Periscope is ending and closing tomorrow. So I saw a lot of people yesterday saying it was their last scope, and I think today might be the very last time that you can live scope on Periscope. So I thought I better come here and say goodbye to everybody, or just let you know where I am now. My YouTube channels. I've never done any lives on there, but I've been following this guy who does guided meditations. His name is Life with Beej, Beej. Really wonderful meditative person who has helped me get into the present moment and keeps stressing how the past is depression and the future is anxiety. But if you sit in the present moment, usually everything's pretty much okay. So he's been helping me get through that whole thing. So yeah, I moved here, and then the pandemic happened, and I spent a whole year in pretty much utter isolation in my house. I bought a house, so I actually have a house. And it was so funny. I still am amazed. I like keep walking and walking, and I'm still in my own space. Which, I grew up in a house, so it's not completely foreign to me, but I had lived for so long in Manhattan in that tiny, tiny, tiny space that having the space I have now is just such a joy. I made some hot water. I don't know where I put it. I'm a big drinker of hot water. If you don't drink hot water, maybe you should try because it's really nice for you. I thought I had that ready to drink while I was talking to you guys. Look, I'm still walking. Maybe I just made it hot. No, I poured it out. Where did it go? I have a yard. I have a front yard and a backyard. And in a crazy way, I also, up here, because the land, the cat hit it. I'm just going to make more. The cat, when I was looking for my house, it took me like 5 years to for this house and buy it. And my friends up here helped me, and they were like, "Oh, you can't buy that house. You can't buy this one. This one's terrible. This one's terrible." And I finally found a real estate agent that was friends with all my friends, and they were like, "Oh, you have to talk to him, and he'll find you a place." And he found me this place, and the second we all, oh, uh-oh. Did it reconnect? Okay. It said the connection was lost. I get bad connection in my kitchen. Anyway, he found me this beautiful house, and the minute my friends walked in, we were all like, "No, this is perfect." And apparently, one of my neighbors said that The house is built by this whole little cul-de-sac area was built by the government to make stable neighborhoods for astronauts to grow up in. So this house is like just a little bit perfect, and I'm totally in love with it, and I've completely filled it up. Everything in my tiny apartment just sort of like unfolded like a jack in the box and became gigantically filled immediately. I don't know how, but I have projects in every room. My next career. I think I'm too old. I also am not that adventurous. I mean, I'm adventurous traveling to different parts of the world with my feet on the ground, but it is delightful. I'm planting so many flower bulbs, and last fall I planted so many. I don't even know what's coming up in the yard right now, except the daffodils. I recognize those. Last year, the daffodils were all in bloom, and then we had this big snowstorm. And because I don't know anything about gardening, or not much, I thought they were all going to die. So I cut them all and brought them in the house. So I had daffodils in my house for like a week, which was really beautiful, but they would have sprung right back up apparently. And so this year they have started to bloom, and uh, I will not cut them because it's going to snow tomorrow, and I'm just going to let them. I don't know about a house tour. I think it's a little messy right now because I just had somebody staying here, even though it's the pandemic. And I'm worried I caught COVID, of course, as my college roommate who needed a space to stay. And it was, yeah, snow tomorrow. I sent her home yesterday because it was like, okay, this is not working. And I'm scared. I'm going to get my hot water. I hope this doesn't cut out again. Let's see. But maybe I can't in the future give a house tour because this is the end of the periscoping. But it's very cute. It's a 3 bedroom. I turned one of the bedrooms into a music room, which now has become a photo processing room because my family gave me all the old family photos to scan and share. Yes, Yahoo Live. Look, do you see that print? That print has lived with me in every space in my life. I'm going to look into Yahoo Live because I have been following this meditation person who is really fantastic, and he does Yahoo Live. So I didn't really even know. Keeps buffering. I'm sorry, Barb. I just went into the kitchen to get hot water. It should be fine now. Everybody should drink hot water. It's really good for you. I started drinking it when I lived in France, and I didn't want to have something that would keep me awake or give me calories. So I would drink hot water at night with a little bit of milk, and then I stopped adding the milk. And now, years and years later, I have discovered it's something that the Chinese have been doing for a million years, and I just sort of stumbled on it, and it's really nice. I drink it with lunch. I drink it with my food. Hot water. No lemon, just plain hot water. Like, not going to burn your throat, but hot. I mean, right now it just finished boiling, so I won't drink it. But I'll wait a minute. But it is. That's hot water. Yeah, that's hot. Wait a minute. I drink it all day. And sometimes cold water, but not often. I don't think cold water is good for my system. So that's my life. Oh, so I got the house, and that was what I was telling the story, and I didn't know I was going to do this, or I didn't tell my friends I was going to do this, but I always wanted a little space of wild land in addition to having a house, and the land is so cheap up here. Hi, Barb. I'm sorry it keeps cutting you out. It should hopefully be solid now. I'm in one spot. I'm not moving anymore. So I have a little place. I have a little spot of a wild hill, and during the pandemic, I would go out and just play in the woods and build. I was building a path through my along my property line, like just digging a path and lining it with rocks. And seriously, my life is so different now. But I have projects, of course, out the wazoo. I have this small business of selling vintage jewelry, and I did the Avon Flea Market. Lincoln, if you are this summer, it starts in May, so come on down to Avon on Sundays, and then we can meet. My tent is the only one that's purple, of course. Unless other people loved it so much last year, they're going to get a purple tent too. But I have one whole table of jewelry, and then I have tchotchkes and flea market stuff that I scour around for and then try to resell for more money, because that's what you do when you're trying to make money. And then I have an online site that's my own, janedaisy.com. Yeah, janedaisy.com is my own site, which has stuff starting at $5, and then I have an Etsy site that has more expensive stuff. I think Jane Daisy General, and I have a Poshmark site. I think it's everything is under Jane Daisy, but no, Avon, New York, Avon, New York. I'm way upstate near Rochester, Brad. Um, so it's so far away from the New York area. Not that the New York area, I mean, it's still in my heart, of course. And everyone was like, "Aren't you going to miss New York?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but like this area has been in my heart the whole time I've been in New York." So it's going to be kind of the same. And I have Poshmark, Etsy, my own site, and then I've also I sell books. I have like 70 boxes of books in the basement. Can you imagine? I had that many books in my tiny apartment. I did have a lot, but I also ended up with a lot of the family stuff, because nobody else wanted it. And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't want it? This is crazy. This stuff is amazing." Etsy is, let's see, I think it's Jane Daisy General. Yeah. I just, that has more pricey stuff on it, or the pricier stuff is what I put on there. In fact, I just sold a ring for $1,800. 1,850, and she just got it delivered, and everybody cross fingers that she keeps it, because that's almost 2 months of my mortgage. And I think I spent about $1 on the ring because it was in a lot of like 3 pounds of rings, and it was an 18 karat gold with a big fat ruby in it. So that was kind of exciting. And I'm just waiting to see that she's going to accept it. But most of my sales, I mean, like, given my old work, uh, I know, right? I have my one cat with me. Yeah, he's right here. Let's see. I forget how to turn things. He's over there. See, kitty, kitty, fast asleep. Um, my other cat passed away. That was my mother's cat that also nobody else wanted um, in the family. So I had to try to get two cats to coexist in a 200 square foot apartment, which was not easy. Um, and it was really hard on my mom's cat. And they finally were able to hang out together on the bed at, and yeah, this this one over here. Oh my gosh, this cat cost me $5,000 in the first year of his life, because I couldn't afford a Maine Coon cat, which was my first cat. I'm sure I've told this story. When he died, he was like 20 years old, and I was like, I'm never gonna get anything but a Maine Coon. And I went to go look for them, and they're like $600. I was like, I can't afford that. So I went to the ASPCA and I spent $100 on this cat, and I had to bring him back because he immediately had an issue with his neutering. And I thought it was a stitch that had like gotten loose, and I'm glad I didn't cut it, because it was really his seminal cord that had gotten infected and popped out, and they had to retie it, and it was so horrible. And she was like, "Oh, if this had been to past 2 weeks, you would have had to pay for it." That was his first thing. And then over the next course of his first year, I know, ouch, um, he had three emergency room visits at $1,000 each because they were always on the weekend, and then an $800 surgery to stop these because he would get urinary tract blockages. So very painful and needing medical attention immediately. So then he had another surgery to stop them, and then he um, stopped eating because of that, and I had to like force feed him and put water under his neck with a needle, and he finally revived from that. And then the last one was my fault. I left meat drippings on the counter, and he licked the bowl off the counter and then stabbed himself in the chest. I know. It was crazy. He had like 17 staples in his chest and like almost cut off his dew claw. And from that point on, he has been like, has had no health problems, knock on wood. I know. It was crazy, this poor cat, but now he is beautiful and happy, and he's 13 years old. So, um, but yeah, I should have just spent the $600 on a Maine Coon. Sorry, Inkling. And so that's it. And then I also like, oh yeah, I'm trying to sell these books that are in the basement. But I can tell you all now, which I didn't want to totally reveal all my existence back then. But I also wrote a novel, and while I was at that old job, and went to Egypt to finish it up. And that novel is called The Harmony of Isis, which was a really unfortunate name because, like, the week I published it, like a week later, ISIS, the terror group, came out. So I was like, man, that sucks. I cannot rewrite this whole book, but it's all about the ancient Egyptian myth of Osiris and Isis, and mixing with a modern woman's life. So it's semi autobiographical, but I have had to tell all my friends and family, listen, this is not my life, what you're reading. It's literally a novel. And I had to make the modern woman's life match like parallel the ISIS woman's life. So I wrote that novel, and I think on Kindle it's like $4.99 or something, and then the hard copy's like 16. I went on different prices here and there, and then I was like, you know what? It didn't matter what I put the price at. It was like not selling anyways. So, and then I didn't want my job to start giving me crap about it, so I just put it up at 16 and forgot about it. Because every time I picked it up, I wanted to edit it more, and they say that you're supposed to. There were two things. Oh, really, Lincoln? Oh, thank you. Um, they're supposed to do two things: is like look at it like a ship liner that goes out to sea, and maybe they'll come back with a boatload of riches, and maybe they'll never see it again. But you just have to wave goodbye to it when you finish a book. That's it. You just have to say goodbye. Um, and then another thing I read. It's called The Harmony of Isis, and it has to do with ancient Egyptian myth of Osiris and Isis, and um, basically a love story that's gone on throughout all of the great ages because the Egyptians did not believe in time sequentially the way we do. So the myth is that Osiris was killed, and the second time he was killed, his brother put him into 16 pieces, and Isis went around and gathered them all back up and with her magic put him back together. And in my novel, I made it that the pieces were spread not only through space but time. So yeah, that's it. So the last piece is in our time, and Isis is still putting Osiris back together, basically. And that's why we have had 6 great ages of war. Because Typhon, or Set, the ancient Egyptian baddie, the bad guy, um, is the angry, jealous, solitary male god who has been ruling our planet and fighting and glorifying war. So it sort of ties in with the age of Aquarius, when Isis completes the connection, bringing Osiris back together. We will have peace. Um, but that doesn't give anything away because actually all of that's at the end of the story. It was a really fun journey to write that book. So I was glad to do it. And and everyone's like, "Where's the sequel?" And I would do a sequel, but I am completely clogged right now with family projects. Um, I just typed up my dad's boot camp diary. Happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life is a big one. I remember I was saying that to someone on the airplane coming back from Egypt, because I was sitting next to this Egyptian couple, and the man was like just yelling at her the whole time. And I finally turned to him and I said something, and I said, "Happy wife, happy life," you know. But of course, I'm sure that didn't really impact his treatment of his wife. But um, yeah, so that's my life, and I'm doing remote paralegal work. And then I'm actually applying for jobs at like factories and the supermarket. And I think I just want a job where I don't have to think and I don't have to be criticized for my thoughts, basically, which is, you know, just give me a knob to turn and give me a paycheck. I always thought it would be fun to work in a factory, anyways. But I apply and I think they look at my resume and they're like, "Oh, what does she want to work here for? That doesn't make any sense." And I don't even get callbacks. So I think I have to modify my resume and just take out everything that is intellectual, and just because I did a lot of restaurant work in my life, to finance college and my travels and stuff. So that's a little bit more palatable, I think. When people see that, they're like, "Oh, a waitress, she can turn a knob." But they look at some of my other titles and they're like, "Oh, we can't have this overeducated person turning a knob. It'll be a problem." I would happily turn a knob. Just give me a job. Give me a job, and I will fruition seeds that come in Naples. Okay. I will fruitionseeds.com. Okay. I'll write that down. Sam, CVS. I know, Sam, but I'm actually pretty far from CVS now. Um, I definitely have to dumb my resume down. And when I go in, I have to be, "Hi." I'm also old. Um, and women over 40, which I'm far over 40 at this point, have a trouble working and finding work. I just want something that gives me a paycheck. I'm done with the career world, and I am. I never was trying to prove anything. I was just trying to do work that I felt was meaningful. And now I don't want to do work that's meaningful, except for work for my own family and my own interests, like writing a sequel to my novel. That would be meaningful. I don't want to spend any energy at work giving anybody my essence anymore. Um, I miss things. I do miss things, but now I have flowers growing in my own yard, so it's a little different. I go out there and I hug my trees. I seriously hug my trees. I stand there and I breathe deep. I've been trying to do meditation and living in the present moment, which isn't always easy, but the pandemic really was not. Um, I mean, the the pandemic was awful. The isolation for me was not awful. I kind of needed it. I was a jangled individual when I got here, like completely wounded and completely health compromised. I still am health compromised, but not in the way I was. I can grow a tiny tree. I want to grow a weeping cherry, because I always loved those. They're so beautiful. There was a house near us growing up that had a weeping cherry, a giant one, that you would only then the house is painted a pale pink, I think. And when that tree was in bloom, really, Barb, I'm just sort of discovering it now. There's a guy, Life with Beej, Beej, and he's very helpful for me. Um, so this cherry tree was, I need to find a seed. No, I think the weeping cherry, I'm going to have to start with the whole tree. You see them for sale. They're kind of expensive, though. That's why I haven't done it yet. Uh, yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Mm. Yeah, I do want to get a weeping cherry tree. Oh, about the weeping cherry that we grew up near. So you would just see when this tree was in bloom, the house and the tree together was like a dream. I know, Sam. I love, I miss it. I miss you guys. I miss this kind of conversation, but I never used to just stare and talk into the phone, so it's a little different. Um, so this tree and this house together was like incredible. And then later on, it the house was sold, and the new owners, I guess, didn't stay long enough to see the tree go in bloom because what they did right away is cut it down. Yes, but Sam, I moved. I live 6 hours north of New York City now. No more subway. I'm done. Unless I go down, I've actually decided to keep my dentist in New York. Right after the CVS. Yes. I saved all of those. Those are the majority of the videos because towards the end of doing the scopes, I was just rushing to work every morning. I didn't have much time to do the long ones. And so many of the long videos were bumped off and are gone. No longer my life. My life, I sleep until I wake up. And what's interesting is now I go to sleep at like 11, 12 at night instead of at 2 in the morning because I have all the time I need at this point. It used to be I only had those hours at night to take care of my personal business. So now I wake up and I come down and make coffee, I open the computer, and the sculpture people try to turn. What does that mean? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, the big square sculpture. Yes, that's at Astor Place. Yeah, I usually don't eat until like 10 or 11. Yes, it's a big black cube that's on its corner in Astor Place. And it's so funny because some people, they think they can't turn it, but it's just because they don't have enough people. It's kind of hard. I need about 4 people to get it moving. And when they renovated that whole plaza, they took it away, and everybody was really worried they wouldn't put it back, but they did. Um, there's a lot I'm going to miss down there, but I honestly haven't been there since the pandemic, except for my dentist, because I had a root canal going bad, and I got it taken care of up here, and then it wasn't feeling better. I know, I'm sorry to see it go too, even though I haven't been using it. I was mainly not using it because I didn't want my old videos to get gone. And now I've saved them all, and now supposedly Periscope is going to be saving it. Good to see you too. It's good to hear from all of you. I really liked meeting everybody through here. It was a really important thing for me at that time too, to have a world where I wasn't being criticized and examined and undercut and lied about. Seriously, when my horrible ex boss quit, my nice boss called me in and he was like, um, the board meetings, oh my gosh, they were so horrible. But my nice boss called me in and he's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember you having a degree in anthropology, right? And I was like, yes. And then he said, he said, and also, you didn't leave your last job under any kind of cloud, did you? And I was like, no, because that's what my ex-boss said on his way out. that I didn't have a college degree, and that I left my last job under a cloud. And since I work in a very, I used to work in a very security focused uh, position. To be slandered that way was like, are you kidding me? Like, are you really going to say that I left under cloud? So I wrote to my old boss at my old job and I told him, and he immediately sent me an email that said, total nut job. It was a highlight of my day. Um, he said, I worked there because all he had to say was that I worked there from one date to another. That's the only legal requirement. But he added that I was a highly valued employee and that they missed me when I was gone. And I gave that email to my nice boss. I said, you can call him too if you want, because this is a big fat lie. I could have sued him. I could have sued that place. I could be sitting here not worrying about a penny, because they really owed me millions, especially when you see this Me Too stuff coming up, and the way they treated me there was complete harassment. Yeah, not worth it. I'm living in the moment. I'm trying to be calm and happy and dredging up. I gave them a log of 86 pages of this man's behavior, and they kept him on. I know. I just let it go. Although there may come a day where I will publish a book called Bully Boss to help other women and men in a similar situation, because men in power and women in power who also abuse it is just despicable. It's like everyone's at work just to do the job and get their paycheck and go home. And if you're in your job in order to crush people, there's something wrong with you, like really. Mhm. Can you believe he like said that about me? It was like, oh, and that I didn't have a college degree, and I immediately brought my diploma in. I'm like, you want to see my college degree? Yeah. Well, they were trying to. I don't know what they're trying to get rid of me, and of course, once they did, they're all like, "Oh, wait, all the stuff she was doing, no one else is able to do it." Like, it's like I was there 13, no, 2003, 2003 to 2000, 16 years. I was there 16 years. Yeah, the world sure did come crashing. And it's like, "Oh, you were so great," and all the people who are not in charge were like loved me. So that was another reason why, it's like, deal with these five assholes in order to continue getting my paycheck and to continue the work, which I really did love the work. And for everyone else there, they appreciated me, but being under the thumb of these people that, seriously, I studied martial arts, and in my head, like when they were talking to me, I would be like beating the shit out of them. I'm like, my face is like all like, and in my head, I'm like smashing their head in, which is also very bad energy to have to deal with. Like, who wants to have those thoughts? Um, but if they had any idea, my original boss, the really horrible one that before he quit, he would be like spewing his garbage and his vomit and his word salads, and I would be, I can't even admit what I was thinking. Mm-mm. Can't, can't. It was bad though. He wouldn't have survived. Anyway, it is really good to not be there under those men, having to be polite to people who were just horrible. Now, it's almost like trauma victims or abuse victims, somebody touches you and you're immediately like, ah, don't touch me. I'm like that immediately when people are mean to me. Yes, Sam, exactly. People don't appreciate you until you're gone. And they're like, oh, Oh, I didn't realize how much you were doing and how much everybody relied on you and how much this whole place relied on you to create a wonderful place. Sensitize. What does sensitize? What sensitize? What? Anyway, it's so nice to be here, and so nice to be. I mean, trying to run your own business is like hour wise, you're probably making pennies an hour, and that ring sale is a real anomaly. But I care about the 25. Yeah. Oh, sensitized. Totally sensitized. I'm like, I cannot listen to somebody be mean to me. I'm immediately like armor up, like, nuh-uh, nope, 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 nope. Don't go there. Don't try it. I'm not going to hear it. Get out of my face. I just can't. But I really haven't even had that much chance because of the pandemic. I mean, I hope everybody's had a safe year. I've been locked in my house for a year. I just got my first Pfizer shot last Wednesday. So I have till the middle of April before I get the second one. And then I will feel safer. Like, I have had friends who have been going out this whole time. Yay! Congratulations. I know people who are not going to get the shot. Um, can't understand that. But it's been a very quiet and introspective year where I sort of settled my ways here and learned how to breathe again and take care of little things, sweeping the house. Oh, Sam, good to see you too. Try to track me down on YouTube. I'm gonna try to do that kind of stuff this maybe going forward, but I don't know. Maybe they should have. I don't know if they can do YouTubing on a handheld. I'll have to look into it. Sam, Sam. It was so nice to know you and meet you and show you the CVS every day. And I feel like this is not the end, but it's the end of Periscope. I have Instagram too, but I hardly ever post there for whatever reason. There's so many different things. Do we? Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't posted there in a long time. I haven't been doing much online for a long time except for my jewelry, which, I will have a 25-cent piece and I will treat it as carefully and sew it onto a backboard. And, oh, I'll put my tree up. The chocolate babka. Oh my gosh. There is food I miss from New York. Honestly, pizza. I have to say, pizza, it's just not the same up here. There and post the tree and growing. If I get a maybe this year I'll get a weeping cherry, but they're usually like $80, and it's kind of hard to justify spending that when I have so much already growing. So I should tend to the things that I have growing already, and I can still plant like tons and tons of seeds for flowers. I will post you the most amazing tree that's out on my hilltop. I have a hilltop of wild land, and there's a 250-year-old oak, which is the one I go up and I hug and I lean against. And I have a little fox who lives there, and she has a burrow. I saw her once when I was sitting against the tree, and she didn't. I think she must have forgot I was there. Probably not, but had to go out anyway. And I saw her run out, and I was like, "Oh, there's the fox. There's the fox." That's hot water, not vodka. It will be. Oh yeah, new series of my trees. I really do love that big tree though. I'm cutting a bunch of other trees. This is a new chapter. But I've been cutting a bunch of littler trees so that I can see the big tree from the top of the hill. it's a flat hill. It's a flat top of a hill, and then there's a ravine that goes down to a stream that's on my neighbor's land, and and then the hill goes down on the other side to the road. But I own it, and it was so cheap. Like, I mean, landing pad for aliens, perfect spot for a bonfire too, and camping out. I might manage it. I am following my passion, which is really, I love the jewelry. I love taking care of it and bringing it and untangling it. I buy it in bulk, and then hunt for treasures throughout it, but then I process even the ones that are like 25 cents and treat them just as carefully as the expensive ones, because every single piece had like so many minds behind it. The people who thought of it, the people who put it together, the people who um, my ex was a jeweler, so I saw him making jewelry out of, like, he would pull the gold wire and hammer it and make things from nothing. Um, I know how hard it is to make jewelry, and so even the stuff that is not valuable is valuable to me, just for the variation of the beauty of each thing. Okay, Sam, take care. I'll see you soon, I hope. I hope I find another venue. And I'm sorry for dropping this one, but I seriously didn't want to lose those videos. Now I have saved them all that I could. And I should have done it sooner, but I only did it on threat of them all being gone. And they do say they're going to be saved somewhere. Um, but I don't know. I don't trust. I'm glad I downloaded them, because now I have them on my computer, but I also uploaded them, and will some of them, and will upload the rest of them when I can, because they only allow you to upload 20 a day. Um, so I'm going to have them in a couple of places. I just feel like New York is not the same anymore, and I don't want those to all go away. And also, just, I knew I was going to be moving. I knew it, and I wanted to save my world the way I lived it down there, in my mind, in those walks. I wanted to save it. So a lot of those videos were because I knew I was moving. It did take me 5 years to find the house, and um, I was taking care of my mother and my father, and then my dad died, and then my mother died. And I seriously wasn't going to move even then, because I had bought the house already and I'd rented it out to this young family. Um, and then the final straw came when one of the three pieces of shit left in charge of trashing me, and did one final thing. And I was like, okay, no more. I can't take this anymore. And I quit. And then he wanted to come to they did throw me this big retirement party, and said, everyone got up and made all these really nice speeches. And I'm like flabbergasted. I'm like, really? Like, really? You really think all this nice stuff about me after everything you did to me? And this guy was going to come to the party. And I wrote him an email. I said, don't you dare. You're the reason I'm quitting. You're a horrible person. I don't want to see you there. And he was like, one of the other guys was like, did you really tell him not to come? And I was like, yeah. He's like, can I see the email? And I'm like, sure. I sent it to him because he didn't believe me. I was like, yes, I told him not to come. I mean, like, ugh. So he didn't. But it was a weird, it was a weird leaving, because they were so nice. Hi, Jesse. But also, it was nice because I did get a retirement party, and I don't think a lot of other people did. I know the two women who, yes, I moved way out of the city, and this is the last night for periscoping, so I thought I would just come on here and blather away for a while. Give everybody an update of my totally new world, and hopefully stay in touch. It was a terrible rat race. It was killing me. I'm not even being like exaggerating. It was killing me. I couldn't. The stress was just through the roof. I mean, I know I have permanent heart damage from it. I have what's called an intermittent galloping heartbeat at this point. So I try to take care not to get upset about things anymore and live in the moment, and do. I could show you this. This is kind of funny because people who don't have my patience, just their minds get blown here. So each of these is like what I use to process my jewelry. So I cut each one of these little tags, so because you have to, yes, I moved out October 31st, I got here. So when I process it and I package the piece of jewelry, I have all these little labels that I use to indicate. It was perfect timing. Connection was lost. I'm sorry, connection was lost. Is it back? Is the connection back? Anybody there? Yes, okay. I guess when I move around, it doesn't stay connected very well. You know what it is? Is this because I'm old? I got on um, that ARP telephone plan, and when I'm in my house, it uses my Wi-Fi. But if it gets too far away from the Wi-Fi, it will jump to the satellite. So some parts of my house don't connect as well to the Wi-Fi, and then the phone gets confused. Like if I drive up to the house and I've been on the phone, or watching something on the TV on the phone while I'm driving, which I know I shouldn't do, but I do. Um, the phone will get confused. Like it won't be able to connect to either for a while because it's like, do I go to the satellite? Do I go to the Wi-Fi? Um, what is it called? The phone service. See, old. Um, anyway, it's a cheap way to have service, and I don't think you even need to be an ARP member to get it. Hi, Barb. Were you kicked off? I'm sorry, I moved around. I went to go show people my OCD of labeling my jewelry because at the flea market that I go to, that I did all last summer, every day with a double mask. My brother's in construction, so he had sent me a bunch of N95s, which is the only way I felt safe. So I always have had an N95 under my cloth mask since the pandemic started, because especially at the flea market and especially in this area, which is overwhelmingly Republican, a lot of people don't wear masks, and or didn't, especially at the flea market. So I felt safe by wearing both of those, and it was a fun summer. I was, but each of the pieces of jewelry is in a package that they can't open. So if you're selling someone a necklace and they don't know how long it is, they're not going to buy it, or a ring, or so you have to put the length and the whatever size it is. And in order to make it not in my terrible handwriting, I type out these little tiny stickers and spend hours cutting them and then peel them. And okay, I'm OCD. I know I am. It's okay. But speaking of this neighborhood or this part of the world, I can honestly say more than once I have seen a frickin' Confederate flag on the back of a pickup truck. And you're just like your brain stops. You're like I can't even comprehend anybody flying that flag. I'm sorry if any of my followers are in that mindset, but nothing I can understand. Nothing. I mean, but this area is pretty Republican, and I guess that's the way that world thinks. So you basically keep your mouth shut. I keep my mouth shut around people because I'm trying not to get into arguments anymore ever in my life. I just can't. It's not worth it for my own peace of mind. You're never going to change anybody's mind about anything. You can't. People will come to their own realizations on their own, but you can't convince anybody of anything. Nobody can. I don't believe so. Um, People can come to their own realizations after observing other people, maybe, but if you sit and try to tell someone that they are wrong about something, they will just get more hardened in their position. Because I know I used to be a smoker of many, many cigarettes a day, like tons. I think I was at 1.3 packs of cigarettes a day. And the second anybody would say, "Oh, you shouldn't smoke," I would immediately smoke. I am on TikTok. I am. I forgot to tell you. I got so obsessed with TikTok. When I first found it, it was like I was just flipping and flipping and flipping. And of course, now all of my algorithm gives me spiritual awakening world, spiritual awakening TikTok, which TikTok. I love watching people make things. So I see a lot of these things where people are making stuff like houses out of sticks and mud. Um, it's so cool. Also, the history TikTok where they're colorizing old snowball fights, and it's such a cool app. I mean, I know it's a kids app, or it was. I don't think it is anymore. There's too many grown-ups on there, and the algorithm just sort of, I don't even see the kids, and if the kids show up, I just keep scrolling because it's like, no, I'm not here to watch children. Um, what is my handle? Um, I think it's Jane Daisy. Um, Let me see. I'm afraid to move, so let me just get my passwords list. I have a list of passwords. It's like 12 pages long. Hold on. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Okay. Let's see. It's not for youngins. But it was eventually for youngins, just the way Facebook was. I mean, I think they really get mad because grown-ups just sort of ruin all their spaces. I'm not even sure I wrote it down on here. I would have to log out of this to find it. I didn't write it on here, but it's gonna have to be Jane Daisy's, because Jane Daisy is my basically my public name. No, I didn't write it here. But if you, let's see, you can write to me at janedaisygeneral@gmail.com, and then I can tell you that way. Oh, look, I have a pretty necklace on. And it matches my pretty bracelet. And the fun thing about jewelry, being a jewelry seller, is now I have more jewelry than I could ever want in my whole life. I'm like a dragon sitting on my jewelry hoard. Yes, Barb, please do. I'm actually making this TikTok. So I mean, I'm making this last Periscope. So anybody who used to follow me can find me, because like I said, I stopped making these Periscopes because they were erasing my oldest ones with every new one I made. And sadly, most of the ones that I saved are like these 5 to 10 minute ones. Joseph, okay, good to see you. Thank you. Good to see you. And it was so great to meet you that day. And have a great night. I'm just going to keep talking because this is the last Periscope. So if they save it, anybody who checks back in can hopefully find me going forward. Because I think we had a fun group that we used to walk around with me in New York. Yeah, Barb, I missed you too. I really did miss doing these. I just didn't know how to save these old ones, and the earliest periscopes were all a really long ones. I used to, half an hour, 40 minutes, an hour long walks, and then the later ones were just me going to the subway and getting to work, and I wouldn't really have too many walking home. Um, so it was like I was exchanging a 5 or 10 minute periscope for an hour long one of showing, Midtown or the highway, or the West Side Highway. 3 years ago, I was down there at Rockwood seeing Flora Fredericks. I know, and I missed you. I think I missed you. We were gonna try to meet, or I was. I don't know why. I was just so working. I was so crazy. Everything was so crazy. But now, it's not much calmer. Much calmer, and I have time to do the things that I'm doing. But I'm gonna have to get a real job because I haven't really worked since June of 2017. Oh, the weekend. Yeah, I was with my mom. Oh, so the way to save these periscopes was my nephew told me. Um, and he's showing me how to do it. And I'm on my MacBook Pro, which has all my files and everything, my InDesign, my Photoshop, my photos, my work. And he shows me and he's like, okay, so when this comes, a second window will pop up, just close out of that. And so, like, the third time the second window popped up, it was a whole page of vaginas. I'm like, Nicholas, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, this is actually kind of illegal, what we're doing, so the websites that will take care of it for you are all sort of a little sketchy. And I'm like, oh my God, if you put a virus on my MacBook Pro, I'm just going to pop you in the head. So I couldn't do it on that because, like, saving each periscope to my own computer, I had to do something called ripping, which is ripping the video from one website, and it passes through this slightly illegal website. And then you have a link that you can then, it transfers it into an MP4, I guess, or something like that. But then you have a link that you can then upload into your YouTube. So you have the video. But in order to get it, you have to be really careful not to accidentally click on the pop-up window in the wrong way, or um, so it took me a really long time to figure that out. And then I tried a whole bunch. When he showed me that, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I tried a whole bunch of different ways to do it. And then I finally went back to that because it was really the only way. But I went and I bought a Chromebook for like $399 that I really shouldn't have spent. Um, and then I spent a week ripping down every single one of my periscopes. I first did all the long ones because I was worried I'd run out of time, because I'm also doing this remote paralegal work. Somehow I'm a paralegal now. I love it. The variety of things I've done in my life. Oh my gosh. Um, but those I wasn't able to, like, just do this straight, and I was worried I was going to not get to all of them if I just did everyone in a row. So I went down and I did all the long ones first. And I got to the end of them because it said there were 500, but there weren't. I don't think so. I'll have to count. Um, but then 2 nights ago, or 3 or 4 nights ago, because it was like, oh, this is happening. This is this crazy deadline. Along with right now, I have to do my taxes. That's another crazy deadline. Take a deep breath. We are right here in the moment, and it's good. So I just stayed up until like 3 in the morning, like for several nights in a row, getting all the short ones. And I got all of them, I think. Mm, because I don't trust that this will be saved otherwise. I mean, who really cares in one sense? But for me, it was an important part of my life to keep Partially because it really was one of my only refuges out of that horrible situation, was hopping on Periscope and seeing all my nice friends from around the world. Like, it was like, people who are happy to hear from me instead of people who are like trying to figure out, okay, Joseph, good to see you. Please do. Um, Instead of dealing with people who are just trying to figure out how to get me to quit and seeing how mean they could be, or whatever they could do to get me to quit. One point they tried to imply I stole something, um, which of course, I'm like a completely ethical person. I would never do that, especially in the environment I was in. One of my jobs, I had to be fingerprinted, because it's a security job. So to imply somebody was stealing from a job like that is like, just as bad as him saying I didn't have a college degree and that I left under a cloud. It's like just total slander and total evil. Evil. I think they were evil to me. Really bad. And everybody should get their own just desserts for that. Um, but because I'm not in the business of revenge, I'm not going to try to do anything about it. But I could have sued them for millions, and they knew it. I think that's also why they wanted to get rid of me. I really could have sued them for millions. But who wants that kind of fight, you know? Um, Not me. I just left. And this way, it's like, okay, they gave me a retirement party. Everybody said how nice I was and how great I was. It's like, gee, I would have been nice to hear that over the past 16 years instead of, all the crap you put me through. But in a sense, it was just better. And I might write a book about it someday, but it's not a priority because this is so nice now. I'm really enjoying my life in a very different way, even because of the pandemic. I did get here just in time. Halloween. They were totally defamatory. You missed it, Barb, maybe, but when my horrible, evil boss left, he also told my nice boss that I didn't have a college degree and that I left my previous highly security-minded job, that I left it under a cloud. So those were also two completely slanderous statements. I wrote a novel. I wrote a novel, Barb. Um, I think I told you, The Harmony of Isis. And then I also, actually, I wrote a book of poetry too. I had a poetry blog, believe it or not, on MySpace, and nobody knew I was doing it, so it was completely anonymous. And then it almost got lost, so I was really worried. So I pulled it all down and made a book out of it. But my rule for the poetry was no bad, no sad, no mad, and nothing about love. So it's all sort of just quirky observations of appreciation of existence. And it's called Light from the Nexus. Thank you. It's The Harmony of Isis, and the poetry is called Light from the Nexus. And that was also another one of my valves to keep myself sane in this incredibly hostile environment, because it was like, okay, you had a terrible day, but what's good about this moment? There's something good about every moment, you know? Um, and if you just look at what's good and try to not see the bad, then, like, okay, so there's this painting I have in Poem Book About Nothing. There's actually a lot that I say in there, but there's just nothing really negative and nothing about love, because I had written so much about love prior to that. I was like, okay, I'm not writing about love anymore. Poetry, I mean. But I never published any of that. Maybe someday. But I have this drawing, a black and white drawing of a leopard, and there's a red dot like over one of his legs, and it's drawn by a culture, I forget which one, that believes that you're supposed to make some mistake so that you don't look like you're trying to copy or be a creator of perfection. And so you make a mistake to say, look, I'm just human. So I used to have that on my, not the entire, not the entire thing. The work was amazing. I loved the actual physical work my hands were doing. Um, is it Native American? And the people that I worked with, and the people who I worked, who, aside from 5 men, it was a great place. Um, so yeah, so there's one little tiny mistake, and I used to have that right on my wall on the way out of the house, because if you stare at the red dot, if you stare at what's wrong, with because every moment has something wrong, like, but if you stare at that, that's all you're going to see, instead of seeing this amazing leopard, like, just drawn there. The leopard is amazing, but there's also a dot. Yes, there were five particular men who really set out to make my life a nightmare there and get me to quit. And the worst one, I had an 82-page log about his behavior, because my sister told me, I was staying at her house because my giant dog at the time, I used to have a Civis Kangal dog. Oh, it was awful. They were all shitheads. But she was like, I'm sick and tired. The red dot on the sweater. You're right. I forgot about that. I was at her house because my dog was having his legs operated on, and he couldn't climb my stoop. So I was living with her, and she was like finally really sick of hearing me about what he did that day and said that day. And she said, just write it down, because it'll get out of your head and you don't have to, you know, tell everybody. I mean, you can, but so I think in karma too. So I started writing it down, not for any purpose. Like, they were always so afraid I was going to sue them, and that's another reason they wanted me out, because they knew I had a lawsuit, and I just am not that person. But I had it for many, I think by the final time I handed it over to my nice boss, it was about 80 pages long of his various instances of behavior. And yeah, it's, and my brother, who has hired and fired hundreds of people in his career, he said, listen, if you're at a table and you think you're about to be fired, print that thing out and have it ready, and just say, listen, before you fire me, please read through this. And it was terrible, Barb. My health was being destroyed by the stress of working there. So I had this log, and one day they were all going away for this annual meeting, and I turned to the nice boss and I said, can I talk to you for a minute, because it's just unbelievable what's happening on this floor. And he never knew. This guy was a kiss up, kick down person, like, nicey nice face, and the minute the door would close, he would slam doors, slam the phone. I worked with two old women, older than me, because I'm old, but they were in their 70s, and made us all cry on a regular basis, all of us. Everything. If you stood in one spot, you were wrong. If you moved an inch to the left, you were wrong. If you moved to the inch to the right, you were wrong. It was like he was having this little weird king power trip. It was just terrible. And when I said that I said, he's a bully boss, and something has to be done. And my nice boss looked at me. It was like, what are you talking about? And then I read online. It's like, if you accuse somebody of that, you have to have the proof. So I sent him the log by email. And of course, they always hated when I sent emails, because it was a record. Yeah, he was on a power trip. He was on an abusive power trip, and nobody knew about it except us on the floor. And then when I told them about it, they basically were so afraid I was going to sue them that they like carved me this little tiny office on the other side of the floor, like in the kitchen. And the crazy fucked up thing is right next to the little space they carved for me was an entirely empty, locked office. which under a million years they would have never given me that office. But it was an empty office and they just wouldn't give it to me because and when I left, they gave it to the woman who took my place. But they would have never given I could have stayed there till I died and they would have never opened that door to give me that office. Crazy place. So yeah. Um Oh yeah, we thought of the old woman I worked with. She said it more than once. Oh, I should put a tape recorder in my drawer and just tape record the way he speaks. You know, he would lean over you and grab the mouse out of your hand and like all this terrible. I'm serious. I used to imagine beating the shit out of him on a regular basis. And my ex was half Sicilian, and he was like, "I'm gonna take him out. I'm like, please, don't do that. Don't, just don't." And then the really funny thing is, because like, all right, I'm a New Yorker. I grew up in a small town outside of New York, which was basically mafia half of the town. And I like my first job was a paper route on a street where almost everyone spoke Italian. And the old grandmothers didn't speak any English, and the church was only in Italian. And so, what was really ridiculous was this guy came down from Buffalo. Actually, he's not even that far from here. He came down from Buffalo and changed his Polish last name, that was his father's last name, who he hated, to his mother's maiden name, which was Italian. So he presented himself as an Italian all the time. It was like, because in New York, like that's a thing, I just have to say it's a thing. And most of my exes have been Italians. And so this guy, like parading as an Italian in New York, was like the most ludicrous thing because he had this I've been picked on my whole life because of my Polish last name, attitude, and behavior. And um, it was like pathetic, seriously pathetic. And because he couldn't get the personal, um, just women, just women, because there was only women on our floor. Um, but I think because he couldn't achieve, the respect of what he wanted, he just got more and more and more horrible, like because he was so pathetic. He was like, it's like, dude, you're not Italian. You really don't even act Italian or look Italian or behave like in a way like something that is just a New York thing. And he came down to New York like, I'm an Italian. It was like, yeah, I don't think so because like you're not. I mean, there's like a swagger. There's a swagger to New York Italians. It's incredibly confident and sexy and I don't know what, but he just had none of it. And he just strove so hard and it was pathetic. He is a pathetic person. He will always be a pathetic person. And good riddance. And he finally quit. No, he finally quit because he realized he wasn't going to dislodge me, get me out of there. He couldn't. I wasn't going to quit. He was like, in the very beginning, I think the second year of the 16 years I worked there, I had lunch with a friend of mine and she said, don't let one person push you out of a great job because wherever you're going to go, there's going to be one person who's an ass. And just don't let him make you quit a great job because seriously, the work my hands were doing was amazing and thrilling and historic and meaningful. And so the work itself was worth staying there. But this person was literally the scummiest, pathetic, most horrible person I've ever had the misfortune to be around in my whole life. And the fact that he was my boss, it was just, and he crushed me. He really did. I met up with a friend of mine years later. She and I were both roommates in France. I earned the money in restaurants to go live in France for a year, what would have been my senior year in college. But I had been studying French since like fourth grade and I couldn't speak it. And it was so annoying to me. I was like, I'm going to France. And nobody believed me. And my parents were like, no. And I was like, well, I'm going to make the money and go anyway. So I did, but I didn't go with any program. I just applied to the school individually and I landed with like, I don't know, maybe $4,000 in American Express checks. Like it was pre credit card. I didn't have a credit card and no apartment. So I was in a hotel and I was trying to find an apartment out of the newspaper, and I did. And I lived there for a year and became fluent in French and came back. And I forget why I was telling you that story, but um, I did things, I went places and I did things. So I really don't regret the things I've done in my life. And in a minute, I'll remember why I was talking about France. But oh, right, my friend, she and I, she was from Germany. We were both like, how old are you in college? Senior year, like 20, 21, 18, 19, 20, yeah, 21. We were 21. Okay. At 21, I was a looker. I'm not going to deny it. She was gorgeous. She was a blonde German woman. And we were hot tamales in France at 21 years old. And we had really a lot of fun. We were in classes together. She was much more outgoing than me. Like the second day, we became friends because the second day, I'm so much of a hermit, I would have sat by myself at lunch every day for the whole year. Second day, she stands up when we're leaving for lunch, and it was a foreign students class, so our only common language was French. So there were people from Greece, there were people from, there was one other American, and I was always really snotty to her because I wasn't like going to be her friend and speak English the whole year. So my friend stands up and she goes, I hate eating alone. Does anybody want to eat with me? And I was like, me, I do. So we became really good friends, and the where she had found a place to live was in like a project, um, in like a side room of a family, and it was just really terrible. And I had found an apartment in the newspaper, and they wouldn't rent it to me because I didn't have a French guarantor, like somebody who would say, I will pay the rent if this foreign person doesn't pay it. And even though I told him I would give him the entire year's rent in cash right then, he was like, no. So the crazy thing is a week before I left for France, I met this woman in the East Village at a restaurant. A French woman was my waitress. And I told her, oh my gosh, I'm leaving for France next week. I've been working for a whole year to make the money. And I'm going to be living in Montpellier and going to Université Paul Valéry. And she was like, oh my gosh, my father's girlfriend lives right outside Montpellier, and here's her phone number. So I call her up. I think I'd been looking for, I had the apartment, but the guy wouldn't rent it to me. And I was spending my money in the hotels, and I was getting freaked out, and then school was going to start and have anywhere to stay. So I called this woman and I started crying, and she was like, I'm not signing anything for you. And I was like, please, I don't know what to do. And she's like, all right, I'll meet you in the train station. So she came into Montpellier, and we sat at a coffee table. I showed her the paperwork, and she's like, I am not signing this for you. And I said, but I told him I would pay the whole thing in cash, and he wouldn't take it. And she was like, what? That's crazy. So she went with me to the real estate office, went in and was like, blah, 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 and he accepted it. So she walked with me to the bank, and we cashed out the whole year's worth of rent, and we gave it to him. And I got the keys, and I had an apartment, and it was this really cute little uh, studio with steps and a upstairs. And it was in a cul-de-sac, and this family that had like 11 children, but the people were really old. The parents were old, so they became like these little surrogate parents to me. It was a great apartment, but I had spent like 2/3 of the money I'd saved for the whole year on the apartment. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run out of money. I'm not going to have anything to eat. but I had the housing, so it wasn't that big of a concern. But um, this woman who became one of my best friends, she ended up living with me in that apartment for the first semester. And then the second semester, I met uh, someone who became my fiance, but she had left already. And then the second semester, we basically just had a love affair, and it was great. And we went all around, and I was still in school, but he took me all to these amazing places in France. And um, we got engaged, but I didn't get married to him. But so all of this is to say that then she ended up getting married to like the village veterinarian, and having two children in Germany. And then she worked for an airline. And when the kids were old enough, she got her job back because Germany believes in females as being valuable parts of the world. And she didn't lose her job just for having children. So she got her job back, and we met. And I had been there maybe 5 years at that place, 6 years maybe. And she had been married to this man for I don't know what. Anyway, we both were sitting opposite each other in a cafe, a diner in Brooklyn near her hotel. And we were both like, the last time we had seen each other, we were like vibrant, young. Thanks, but we were like so beautiful and strong and happy and thrilled. And um, thank you, Barb. Um, and then we were both sitting there in this diner, like with shoulders hunched and sort of diminished and sad. And it was because her husband had been emotionally abusing her, and my boss had been emotionally abusing me. And we were both crushed as people under the thumbs of men who hated us or whatever, took out their power trips on us. So slowly over time, we both sort of have stiffened our spines and grown back to part of what we used to be. But I don't think you ever totally recover from that, you know? Um, I still have tears in my eyes for what was done to me. And I'm sure she does too. Like, we see each other once in a while, but it's a terrible thing when people do that to other people. So, to go back into that world, the only way I would do it is to write something about bully bosses in order to help other people, A, recognize the signs, because a bully boss, this is what they do, or a bully, anybody who is a bully. The first thing they do is what it's called a shark nibble, because sharks are really terrified fish, and they're afraid something's going to get them. So if it nibbles and nothing fights back, they come back for a bigger bite and a bigger bite and a bigger bite. If you punch a shark in the nose, that's why if you punch a shark in the nose, it'll go away. If you fight back, they go away. But a bully boss or a bully, that's what they do. They test a little shark nibble. Ooh, is this someone I can get over on? You know, a little thing like leaning too far over your shoulder while they're looking at your computer or grabbing the mouse. And if you don't push back and say, excuse me, or like I remember one of my coworkers, a man who became a friend of mine, he was on our floor, and my horrible boss started ripping into him for not picking up his phone. And this is like a person who was deep into his work, and he's like, that's what the answering machine's for. You leave a message and I will get it when I can pick my head up out of what I'm focusing on. There's nothing that critical in the world that, the what we worked in, that you would need to like immediately speak with me about anything. But he didn't say it that way. He turned around and he said, I do not appreciate the tone of voice, and don't use that tone of voice with me. And I remember being across the floor and going, oh my God, somebody's talking back to him. It was amazing. It was thrilling to me. It was like, oh my gosh. But I really later learned that this is what you have to do because a bully will shark nibble. And if they get punched back, they'll back away and go pick on someone that doesn't punch back. And I think a lot of people, especially women in the workforce, don't know this. I had never been treated that way my whole life. I've never been um, yelled at. I'd never been in an environment when somebody slammed doors and slammed the phones, and I mean, you're constantly jumping, like what was, oh, what did happen? What did he do? What happened? Like what's so horrible? And it's like, oh, I couldn't. The pen didn't work, and it's like, what? You're like fucking slamming the door or your drawer because your pen didn't work. Like it was just a constant level of anxiety that they produce, and they feed off of your fear. They really do. So the only way, like that part of my life will become relevant again, is if I write something to help other people, because I would never want anybody to go through that. And but now, like with the Me Too movement, I think it happens less. I really do. I mean, also with the Me Too movement, I could that some of the things that happened to me there were also really kind of creepy and weird. Like people would take pictures sometimes, and they're visiting and they want a picture with me. Um, and twice during a picture taking session, one of the men literally put their hand behind my neck like that, like holding my neck behind my neck. And the first time it happened, it was the big poobah boss, and it was like, I'm like you're taking a picture. What can you do? Like, shh, like, like what? What? It was the weirdest thing. I've never even had a boyfriend. I don't know. I don't know, Barb. It was the weirdest thing. And then, like, a week and a half later, somebody else did it. So I feel like they must have, read something together about what it is, and wanted to test it out or something. Because I looked it up and it's a form of dominance or whatever it is. It was the weirdest thing because you're taking a picture and nobody can see that they're doing it. And it's like, and of course, this was years before the Me Too movement. And now the Me Too movement, I doubt that anybody would do something like that. But maybe they would to somebody that was bullied down who wouldn't know what to say or do, or, you know, it's a progressive thing, the bullying and the crushing of somebody. So I would like to help other people with it, but I seriously haven't thought or talked about any of it for so long because it's so not part of my life anymore. I'm really different. This whole year of the pandemic, I have been working on the jewelry. I didn't go out at all except for those Sundays to the flea market, and I'd set up my booth and like sell sell stuff at a flea market. Like I always loved flea markets, and to have a booth at one is kind of fun. I had a store for 5 years in Manhattan before I got this job, and I loved having a store. So having a little booth was sort of like having a little store, but the big pain was pulling it down every, at the end of the day. And by the end of the summer, I was pulling out so much stuff. It was like, took me 3 hours to set up and 3 hours to take it down. So the actual pay per minute was like nothing. Excuse me, but it got me out of the house during the pandemic and got me outside, and around other people, which, that, and it was nice. I'm going to do it again. It starts in May 1st, I think. So, no, not May 1st, whenever the first weekend in May. And I'll have my same old spot. So I hope to see you there, Lincoln. I can't wait. Can't wait to see you and ask you about Sawyer, because I've always wondered, is he a relative of yours or you just love the band? And is he a friend of yours, or he's very young, so I was like, maybe he's your son. Is he your son? Because I don't know. Um, he's a great musician. I didn't ever. There were a lot of the links that I didn't get a chance to see because they would disappear. Enthusiastic fan. Cool. So, anyway, this was one of the longest periscopes I've done in a long, long time, but I think it was good to do 22. Wow, that's amazing. So, but that's at least 3 years. No, 2 years. So you've been talking about him 2 or 3 years. So he started when he was 19, 20. It's not easy. I've had a lot of friends in the musician world. It's not easy. 5 plus. Wow. Um, I have one friend who has a gold record on his wall, but a lot of my other musician friends never went anywhere with their music, even as hard as they tried, as many clubs they played in. He was 15. Oh, okay. So that's where he got his push. It's hard to get noticed. One of my neighbors growing up is was Bob Donnelly, who was one of the most amazing entertainment lawyers on the side of the musicians. Okay, Barb, I can't wait to see you. Thank you. I'm uh, I'm glad to be getting the word out of where else I am in the world, especially since I won't be able to talk on this anymore. Um, so thank you for stopping in, and I can't wait to see you again in one of the other venues. I'm gonna try to figure out YouTube live also, or Etsy. I know that almost all of them do lives. I think even Twitter has a live feed. They're trying to get everyone to do it. So maybe this will just sort of morph over to the Twitter, because all of the live Twitter, yeah, all of the TikTok, all of these Periscopes are actually on my Twitter feed. I was scrolling down. I was like, oh, until they're not, because the ones that got dropped off just got deleted. I wish they had them somewhere in their archive, because those were some of the longest ones. But I might start doing Twitter live. There's so many different ones. Instagram has live. Instagram, all I've been doing, I post some pictures there, but not a whole lot. This was my favorite one. I don't know why I found it. I needed it at the time. It was great for me, and it met a really lot of interesting, cool people. I'm sorry they're closing it, but you know, I guess there will be another venue, and I'll try to do more. I'll try to get back out there in a live sense, because I had fun with this. Periscope TV under, but yeah, they did say they were going to save it. I just don't. I just wanted to save them in my world too, because you know, one of my friends said, whatever you want to save it in two places in case one, like you're supposed to have two backup hard drives, because if one of them fails, you'll still have the other. And I have had I had a G drive fail one time, so I believe in that. And I had one Apple computer crash, which actually had like, I used to have an erotic version of the Harmony of Isis, and then I pulled out all the erotica out of it, because I realized I didn't want my family reading it. They all knew I was writing a book, so I was like, all right, I don't need to write that. But that computer crashed, and everything that was on it, whatever it is, I still have the computer, but I tried to take it to get it fixed, and they said it would have to go to a cold room, and they might not be able to get it back, and it would cost $1,600 to try, and I just didn't have the money. So I have the computer, maybe the technology. It was an old Apple. Maybe today's technology can re-spark it. No collector's issue. I don't even remember what I wrote on there, but I was like, oh dang, I'm gonna have to delete all this out of the book. I don't even think my family read the book. Um, there's a lot of people who never read my book. I think because they started reading it and they thought it was like too personal in my life, but it wasn't really about me. There was a skeletal aspect of it that was autobiographical, but it was really not autobiographical. It was telling a story using the framework of my life to make a story out of it. Not There's actually an author, it's called transreal. He coined the term. His name is Rudy Rucker, and he he made a his first book was called White Light, which is actually an amazing book. And in it, he was a math professor at a college town, and it's actually this college town, and I actually included him in my book. I made a vague reference to his in his book. He's a math professor who does acid and ends up going into another dimension when he's in this graveyard up here at the top of the hill. And in my book, I made a pyramid like that was hidden at the top of the hill. So, but I also had I referenced his disappearance in my book. But he started the transreal movement, or description of that kind of writing, whereby because he really was a math professor. One of my friends had him in college, and he was said, "Oh yeah, that guy was really spacey." And then he went on to write a lot of real physics books, and then a lot of science fiction books about robots. He's a really interesting writer. But that book, the White Light one, was my favorite. And so transreal writing is basically, a lot of it is true, but it's woven through complete fantasia, like novel writing using a skeleton of truth, I guess, is what it sort of is. Not like historical fiction, but similar. So anyway, my voice is getting tired, but I'm so glad to see everybody, and thank you for joining. And I can't wait to somehow see you all on another version, and to meet you in person, Lincoln, when you come to see me at the Avon Flea Market. Look for the purple canopy, and my company is Jane Daisy General, so that's on all my tickets, and you'll see it. It's purple. I'm a fan of purple, like Prince. Big fan of Prince. So I am going to go and say goodnight, and goodbye, Periscope. Bye, Lincoln. Bye, Barb. I don't know who else is on here. Um, See you sometime. Purple it is. I can't wait to meet you. And then by then, I will have had both vaccines. And they say you can hang out with people who have both vaccines, can hang out without masks safely. So hopefully that's the case. Bye, Barb. So good to see you. And I'll see you everywhere else possible, hopefully in the future. And bye, Periscope. And bye, everybody who wasn't able to make it tonight, who used to follow me around New York City streets. It was a joy to meet you all, and a joy to be part of the Periscope world. And thanks. Bye, everyone. I forget how to end it. All right. Ciao.